famous rabbis, Oriental rabbis of yesteryear, another special edition over here. I wanted to speak about Rabbi Solomon David Sassoon, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. He was a famous educator, he was a rabbi, and he was a philanthropist. He was also a very well-known fundraiser and a collector of many Jewish manuscripts. I think he was born back in English year 1915, in the 14th of August, and he passed away on the 27th of May in the year 1985. We're talking about 40 years ago. We've mentioned various of his family members in the series on various occasions before, so I thought it's an opportune time to speak about the famous rabbi, great rabbi. And he was born, as we said before, in London in the year 1915, in the month of August he was born. And he was born into the wealthy Sassoon family, which we've documented and mentioned on various occasions before. Now, his father was David Solomon Sassoon. He was actually born in 1880 and passed away in 1942. We actually recorded a video in regards to him. His father himself happened to be a collector of Hebrew manuscripts, whose father himself had hailed from Baghdad. Now, his paternal grandmother was a very intellectual woman, a woman of the name Flora Sassoon, who we've mentioned about a few occasions before. She was actually in communication with many of the great rabbonim of yesterday, and many people would actually be very familiar with her. His paternal great-grandfather was Albert Abdullah David Sassoon. He lived between the years 1818 to 1896. And his paternal great-grandfather was David Sassoon. He himself lived between 1792 to 1864. He was a trader of cotton and opium. He served as a treasurer of Baghdad between the years 1817 and 1829. Now, he was tutored, I believe, by the famous Rabbi Eliyahu Eliezer Dessler, very great rabbi of his time, great Ashkenazi rabbi, one I'd recommend everyone to read more about. Okay, let's explore a few more highlights of the famous rabbi's life. Now, Rav Sassoon made original contributions to linguistic analysis, philosophy, and physiology and biblical scholarship. I believe in the year 1953, and later on, I believe in the year 1964. It was reported over he would be offered, the people put his name forward as a candidate for the position of Sephardi Chief Rabbi of Israel. Remember, this is a very prominent position. Let's say one of the bastion positions possibly for a great rabbi to have, Sephardi rabbi to have. And remember, there's been to date, nearly about 50 Rishon LeZion Sephardi Chief Rabbis in Israel respectively. So his name was definitely touted forward for it. He had great amounts of interest, including literary output, and he was be into this very much till he passed away. Now, Rabbi Solomon David Sassoon would go on to build a library in Letchworth in England to house his father's collection of Jewish manuscripts and incubabula. Some of these holdings were later auctioned by Sotheby's, very well documented, Sotheby's of London, an auctioning house, in Zurich and in New York, especially between the years 1975 to 1994. This was in order, let's just say, to satisfy the Sassoon estate's British tax obligations. It was recorded over in the Wikipedia article, which I am reading and using this as a source over here. I believe the rest of his collection was transferred to the University of Toronto in Canada. This was. Now, Rav Sassoon passed away in Jerusalem in May 1985. Now, it's interesting. His son, who we're going to speak about now, Rav Isaac Sassoon, is also a rabbi. Let's maybe mention a bit with regards to a famous son of his. His son was born in the year 1946. He was a chacham. He is a chacham, scholar and an educator. One of the, let's say, definitely among one of the great Sephardic scholars of the currently present. Obviously, he would grow up not just coming from London, but would be speaking fluently Judeo-Arabic, also, which not many people would speak nowadays, to be honest with you. It's interesting. His father's, let's just say, I think the initial education which Isaac Sassoon, Rabbi Isaac Sassoon had, was under the tutelage, let's say, of his father, Rabbi Solomon David Sassoon, who we're speaking about today. Now, it's actually interesting. He would also learn, his son would also learn when he was younger under Rabbi Yosef Dori and other rabbis. Rabbi Sassoon would send his son Isaac also to the famous Yeshivat Gateshead and various other yeshivot in Israel. I think his son also holds a PhD in literature from the University of Lisbon, obviously in Portugal this will be. Now, his son very much continued, let's just say, his family's academic tradition. He published books on topics ranging from scriptural commentary and history to issues of current concern, let's just say, affecting the Jewish community. I think he's been teaching in the Institute of Traditional Judaism and lectures, just say widely. He is obviously very highly thought of, his son is, in the Sephardic community. And actually we've mentioned him, I believe, quite recently in the series on another video. I think it was connected to his father's video. And he contributes a maintenance, let's say, of the heritage of the Babylonian Jewish community, provided, let's just say, the Syrian Jewish community with an updated and corrected Siddur prayer book, reflecting the community's tradition. Now, his son Isaac, Rabbi Isaac, in the year 2011, published a book called The Status of Women in Jewish Tradition. This addressed, let's say, the particular religious tradition's outlook on women. He refers to the Torah, Talmud, and interesting enough, Dead Sea Scrolls in exploring the authentic position of the continuum of patriarchal, let's say, condescension. His goal, let's just say, while he was writing, let's say, the book, was to give authentic answers to popular questions. Remember, we did a video in the Jerusalem Supreme Court, I believe, not so long ago, a few months ago, and we actually saw some of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I don't know if that was partly due to him or not, but we'll definitely have to watch over that video inside the channel. Now, just to say a word in regards to Rabbi David Sassoon's father, who we're talking about. His name was David Solomon Sassoon, and he lived between 1880 to 1942, and he was a bibliophile, and as I said before, obviously descending from David Sassoon, the famous treasure of the Baghdadi community. It was really standing on shoulders of giants, you could say. Just a few also tidbits with regards to the Sassoon family, the heritage. I think his father was born actually in Bombay, and his grandfather was Rabbi Solomon and Rabbi Flora Sassoon, as we said before. And I think the move to London was made in the year 1902. This was where I believe he would move, and with his mother Flora at that point in time. Obviously, naturally, these were the grandparents. It wasn't just. It seems like this entire family were manuscript collectors. Like originally, Solomon was traveling extensively. That was one of the things he would do. The sole intent, seemingly, from all these travelings he would do, all these travelings, let's just say, he would do, was sole intent of collecting Hebrew books and manuscripts, which he later catalogued in, let's say, a 2-volume book entitled the Ohel David. The importance of his private collection of books, let's just say, and manuscripts cannot be overstated, since it affords scholars the opportunity to examine some 24 distant liturgical rites used by different communities of the 19th century. As I say, Aleppo, Ashkenazic, Egyptian, Italian, North African, Morocco, Tunis, Karaite, Sephardi, Bnei Israel, Turkish, Yemen, and others over here. So there's much more we can actually say within regards to this. Just going to take a break at the moment because איפה מקלט? יש מקלט פה? זה מקלט או איפה? Okay, yeah, we're doing this video at the moment, and at the moment there's a warning of a rocket attack. So you get to see some of the action while we're speaking. I'm just actually in a hospital at the moment in Jerusalem while recording this. So we don't usually get this bit of action when we do a historic video over here. Now, it's actually interesting. His father would originally own 412 manuscripts and 20 incubables, I think the rarest of which was retrieved from Baghdad. I think come on 1914, his father, Rabbi Sassoon, the collection of manuscripts would number 500, and between 1914 to 1932, the catalogue published, the manuscripts, grew to 1,220, of which 1,153 are fully described in the catalogue. By the way, anyone tuning in, at the moment we've got a rocket warning here in Jerusalem, probably from terrorists, I would assume, and that's why it's a lot of people at the moment, so you can see just inside the Miklat, all for shelter at the moment. But we will continue talking about the great rabbi over here. I think the manuscripts at one stage would grow to 1,220, which at that stage in time 1,153 of them were fully described in the catalogue. Now, when I believe his ancestors, David and his mother, visited the Holy Land in 1923, they acquired various other books, including Rabbi Isaiah ben Malidi-Trani's book. Many of them were obtained from him. He got books from Rabbi Yehuda Gaon, another great rabbi, which was, let's say, he obtained from a Jew in Yemen in 1911. And various books from Babylonia and Old Persia from the 9th and 10th century. Those among the great books. I think a handwritten copy of Maimonides' Guide for the Perplexed, which was written in Spain in the 14th century, in 1397 was one of the books. 16 liturgical works he would get, Sidurim, in Yemen. I think the earliest would date back to the early 16th century. And a study of manuscripts revealed that liturgy used by the Jews of Yemen underwent, let's say, changes after Western influences penetrated into the peninsula. I think one of the greatest prized acquisitions of the Sassoon family happens to be the Farhi Bible, the famous Farhi Bible, which many people would have heard about before. It was a codex with more than 359, let's say, illustrations, which he purchased in Aleppo. We could actually say more within regards to the collection over here. It's said to have been written by Elisha Krakas in Provence between the years 1366 and 1383. I think currently it was kept inside a vault in Switzerland. Another treasure, I think, of the family, let's just say, of their discoveries, was the Damascus Pentateuch, a codex which he bought in Damascus in 1915 and was acquired by the JNF, Jewish National and University Library in Jerusalem in 1975. There was other acquisitions, especially in 1923, was one of Shmuel Hanagid, which was an Oxford University press, would actually publish this later on. And various other books, such as Samuel Halevi, Joseph Najarla, who lived between 993 to 1056. I think he actually passed away himself 10 years before the Norman conquest he happened to have. Many of the manuscripts were collected by Sassoon, were eventually auctioned, I believe, by Sotheby's in London, in Zurich and in New York, as we stated before, especially between the years 1975 to 1994. And so very interesting enough. So we spoke today about Rabbi Solomon David Sassoon, who lived between 1915 to 1985, the famous educator, rabbi, philanthropist, fundraiser, collector of Jewish manuscripts. We spoke about his family history, especially his dad's travelings, and his son, who currently is a great educator also. And so often we are at the moment while recording this video, so it's actually, I was thinking actually of stopping the video in the middle when the siren came on, but because I want everyone should see the conditions Israel is suffering with anti-Semitism, I thought, why not do a live video while I continue this live video and not stop it, so that everyone could see, you know, we have to run to shelters. It's well documented. And another lesson about this is, I'm really into learning about Sephardic, Oriental, Rabbinic history, just showing how devoted I am to it. Even if there's a rocket coming, I'm not going to stop learning about the great rabbis and trying to emulate the great rabbis and to spread their greatness within regards to it. So I'll leave you with some scenes. I'm just actually in the stairwell at the moment, which is as good as a safety room, as you could say. And this happens to be in Jerusalem. I'm actually in the Shaare Tzedek Hospital in Jerusalem at the moment while recording this. There's a lot of chesed organisations also, and just my daughter wasn't feeling so well, so everyone please pray for her to make a full refuah shlema. I think there's safety now. Okay, friends, wishing you all a good day. Now please, everyone, subscribe to the channel. We are at the moment coming close to 7,000 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement at the moment. If you descend from any of the great rabbis we're speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information. If you feel anyone is interested in watching any of these videos, please share these videos to other people also. That's the best way of growing the community and learn more about the great rabbis of yesteryear. And on that note, wishing you all well and a fantastic day. Hopefully we're going to record some more live videos tonight of great rabbis. So wishing you all well and take care, and thanks for watching.